Afternoon, everyone, from Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana, with my very good friend Brandon Carpenter, who just before we went live was talking about how little sleep he's been getting recently because of heifer watch. He has to get out there. Heifers decide to have their calves when they decide, or actually it's the calf that decides, and it can be any time, day or night. And when problems arise, you can bet it's going to be in the middle of a cold night. So Brandon's been out there, and this particular video that he's going to share with us today really talks about that and takes you into this part of his life. So the life of a cattle rancher is 24/7, 365. And too bad about the loss of sleep, Brandon. You look good for having been up all night.
If I'm going to do this right, I'll let the puffy eyes match the rest of my body. So I'm going to eat like crazy so it all fills out and looks the same. How's that?
Well, that's as good a reason as any.
There you go.
Okay. Can you roll it, James?
Oh, here we go. Time for heifer check. First thing I can do is come out and look at the temperature. And humidity kind of is telling me that it isn't snowing out or raining because of the temperature and the low humidity. And just looking good for having babies. So get dressed and go look.
Yeah, one of the first things you always look at on this deck as you're going out is how wet it is. As wet and cold can kill calves, and just plain cold can kill calves. So this is a really kind of a nice balmy morning. And that's why we got this. I don't have a lot of lights out here, only in the barn when I really need them. I got one outside, but I'm not going to touch it much. And make our way through the gauntlet of corral gates, horses, cows. I let my eyes kind of adjust a little bit to the not so much light. And oh, there's a couple of horses. Everybody's on their feet. And this is kind of a tricky part. It's not horrible tricky, it's just low light conditions. And this is really kind of nice, not much wind. Here, my windsock is just kind of a nice little breeze. 2 in the morning. You like it to be nice and calm, but this is not calm wind country. Yeah, let's see what we got. Nobody's awake. It will be now with all the clanging and banging. So I'm coming in first. I see nobody in this lower end. Got a feed bunk there, the water. And the wind is kind of messing around with our straw that we put out to prep for calving, but there's still plenty of it, looks good. Got a few calves in here. Haven't had a heifer calve in a couple of days. There's one. Number 120, I can tell by the white spot on her. 130. Only got about 7 left in here that are heavy. Look how she moves. She's getting close. Atta girl. Atta girl. So I need to count heads. 1. There's 2 and 3. And I think I'm going to just push them out of this corral. We're getting used to that because I do that an evening, late in, about my 10 o'clock check, I'll kick them out of here because I've opened the gate and let them in. There's all 7 of them. How about count? Yeah, look how she's holding her tail. She's starting to bag a little bit too. And anyway, I'm kicking them out of here. Only feeding them kind of in the evening or late afternoon to evening. Hi, sweetheart. How you doing? Yeah, they're getting used to this light. It's kind of not normal for them, but look at her look at me like, what the heck? Anyway, if you let them eat in the evening, then they tend to calve later in the day instead of early morning. Yeah, she's in a pretty good bag too for a heifer. Big old belly on her, calf in there. So I'll kick them out, and they're getting pretty used to this. And I'm just going to look around also, just in case one of them is calved and abandoned her baby. But looking at their hind ends, you don't have any afterbirth hanging out, no blood, like one of them is calved, so it's a pretty good indication, but you can just check anyway. And I don't see a thing out here or somebody's abandoned a calf. Always a good sign. So I'm just going to kind of walk down through here and ease up. Kind of see what I'll show you what I'm looking for. Heavy bag, she's getting kind of tight. And keep in mind, these cows have never calved, or they're heifers, they've never calved. Look at how she's walking, kind of waddling. That tail swish, look at that. How she might be getting close. A lot of times they'll hold their tail out. See how she's walking. They're all getting close. That was not got quite the bag, but she is moving with a waddle. But I look for that how they're carrying that tail. And if they're cranking the tail out, and you look at the top of the hip, you see those pin bones, and you can see the ligaments start to drop a little bit. Hey there, big girl. Hey, big girl. Yeah, you're the same way, aren't you? And look at that vulva. Yeah, she's pretty tight. She's a ways off. You know, she's walking a little bit like she's going to. And this girl's starting to loosen up a little bit. Springing. Vulva's getting kind of loose. She's getting ready to have one. These guys are all taking their turn down here at the water trough. Yeah, we just kind of keep looking around behind us because it is dark out here. They'll sneak around behind you and you'll miss them. Let's see if we got yeah, there's one. See, she was hiding behind the other one. She moves. There she is. Now look at this girl right here. Like number 119. I've been kind of watching her. Yeah, 119. Look how it's real heavy. The bag's starting to tighten up. See how she looks on his hind end. That's vulva is swollen. She's a little closer. She's getting there. You find her. There she goes. She's next one out there. See how she's starting to get kind of jelly-like. And then they'll start getting some mucus. Look at that bag that's really getting tight on the back there. That 130 is going to be in my way. There we go. Look how tight she is. That tail. And of course she's going to have a clean out here. You see how, yeah, starting to just loosen up. See some clear mucus start to come out here after a bit. And she's going to be our next one, but not tonight. So I can go back to bed and hope the heck everything looks good in the morning. And she kind of delays having this calf until, 10 o'clock in the morning after it warms up. It'd be good. Look at the size of her. She looks like a helium balloon. All right, girls, hang in there. We'll see you in a couple more hours. And we'll check in, see what you look like just before daylight. Well, it's a walk back. I'm out of the corrals and kind of just taking some mental notes about who's close and who's not. Like one number 119 is getting there. 128, those are two that keep watch really kind of close. And I'm pretty confident they're gonna still have no babies. And there's Bandit, the kitty cat, helping out every time I run out there. All right, we'll give her another couple hours and see what happens. Time to roll back into the sack. Well, I checked the temperature. It's 37 degrees now at my 6 o'clock check. And this is what you do first thing on your 6 o'clock so that you can come back in, get something warm in your belly, and maybe make your eyes open a little bit more. So, well, don't laugh. You've all done it too. You know you have. All right, let's hit the door. It's kind of nice as this camera, because it's glass, lenses and all, picks up a lot of light. So I don't have to have you endure a flashlight whipping around. But here we are. I take a look, and one of the things you're always thinking about on the walk out here is, oh God, I hope somebody's had their calf and then abandoned it, or had their calf and they beat it up. You know, having all those issues like that you've had before, especially with heifers. Cows are really pretty doggone good about it, but these heifers are a little tough. There's 119. And she's getting a little thicker and thicker, moving slower. We might have some calves today, let's hope. But look at them, trained like a bunch of milk cows. All I got to do is kind of come out here and walk them around, and then they'll head down to the other pen in this corral. Come on, girls. Let's go, ladies. Now you've had enough feed. So I'll hold them off the feed for the day. And then she's always smart. She thinks that I won't see her walk around this way. Yeah, go ahead. Go on out of there. Go down. There you go. Come on, ladies. Let's go. Let's go. So now I'm going to take them off the feed, let them feed up last night late. And then this evening, I'll let them have that hay again, like we talked about earlier, so that they'll try to change their hormone levels in their body, and they will tend to calve later. So we'll close this gate on them. Look at her. She's an opportunist. She's thinking, hey, is he going to forget the gate? Or, hey, maybe he won't see me. Well, wrong. They're pretty sly about it. So we'll close this up. And that will just set for the day. And they've had a belly full all night. And they're tanked up. Now, one thing I'm going to do, again, just out of paranoia, is you walk down through this lower corral everywhere they've been throughout the night, and just make sure that there's not a calf laying here that's needing some assistance that one of them had. None of them look like their tail end isn't, again, it's not bloody. They don't have any afterbirth, so I'm pretty sure there's nothing here. So, and I'm right. Good for me. All right. That's a quick one. It didn't have much going on, and hopefully we don't have to pull a calf at any point, which would really be nice. And then it wouldn't show you much, but at the same time, I'd rather not pull a calf. Have them all nice and easy, and these cows do it on their own, take their calves, pick them up, and throw some milk down their throats, and make them fat. All right, now I gotta go in there and tend to a coffee pot. Make doggone sure that I made that coffee right. All right, you guys, hope you had a enjoyable trip with me last few hours on these 2 checks, And we'll see you later.
And I'm glad that's you and not me getting up in the morning in the 2 a.m. Now, I want to remind people that a heifer is a cow that has not before given birth to a calf. And how do you select your heifers, Brandon? How do you, what goes into your deciding to buy a heifer?
Well, that's a good question. Normally, we keep replacement heifers. We raise our own, and then we take a look at the heifer calf at sale time. And instead of taking them to town to sell, then we will keep the best select ones. We're looking for ones that got some, the docility we want. And for the most part, they all have anyway. You can just about, just pick any one you want, and you're going to hit that. But we're looking for some phenotype trait, long back, and we want a thick, blocky body, thick through the chest, deep through the hip and flank area, that hind gut. And so that they'll also be wide, some good solid bone on them. Some things, no matter what you choose, good feet are something you want to have as a foundation. I mean, it sounds kind of a little bit punish, but no, it's you got to have decent feet. You got no foundation, you got no building. So that is a real concern, and there are some, and especially in actually the red Angus, that's one of the things that you have to watch for is poor feet. So that's consideration. Just the muscle size can only get so much to it if you don't have the bone to put it on. So a good stout, thick bone, that kind of stuff. So the longer back they have, the more steaks that are there. So you got to think of them in that term as a carcass weight, because that's what you're producing our commercial cattle for our feed industry, or human consumption.
Right. So a cow, you're looking at two different aspects: the kind of calf that she will produce and the kind of birther she will be. I mean, you want a cow that's going to be an easy birther as well, correct?
That's right. And part of that is not just the cow or the heifer, then it's also going to be the bull. Right. So on the heifers, you want, and a lot of people will breed their heifers as long yearlings, and they're still fundamentally, they are maturing. And so you tend to have to maybe pull a little more. They're kind of babyish mentally anyway. So we wait a year, and that's one of the things we could be a little bit more efficient about, is to wait that extra or take a year off of the timeline that we normally have, because we're not breeding them until they're 2. Of course, we calve a little late, so they would be calving when they're a solid 2-year-old. We're doing them now when they're a 3-year-old instead of 3.5 or 2.5, so that there's a little more maturity to them. They tend to want to take their calves a little bit better. You don't have to pull as many because you got a bone structure. Their pelvic girdle is a little larger, a little more mature. So there's a lot of advantages to that. And then having a bull that is producing or has the potential. We talked about EPDs, or expected progeny differences, quite a while ago. And you're looking for a bull that produces a calf with a lighter birth weight also. Mm-hmm. You don't want to put a heifer against a really large bull, someone that'll, produce 90-pound, 100-pound calves. That'd be disastrous. You'd have to pull nearly every calf, or the probability that you would be much, much higher. Like so far, I've only had to pull one calf this year, which is great. I mean, I'm happy with that. And I think you'll see that one here in the next week or so. So something else come from something else I was filming, but it's a matter of matching your animals. So a cow that's already had a calf, or a heifer that's had her first calf and now she's a cow, I'm not afraid to put those onto a little bit larger frame bull, because they know what to expect. Any woman that's had one baby, you really don't know what you've gone through until you've gone through it. And then the next time you know what to expect. Well, cows are kind of the same way. Horses are the same way. I think every animal is the same way. Intuitively, they're kind of like, okay, I know how hard I need to push, because some of them don't. They're just not sure. They just don't have a pain threshold that's conducive to really following through. So after they've calved once, They're pros at it, and then you can kind of take your eye off of them a little bit more. Not that I don't, but I don't have them up in the corral either unless I absolutely had to.
Right, and so you don't have to check in your larger pasture, because in the larger pasture, you only have those experienced mothers who have successfully produced in the past. Isn't that right?
That's correct. The only time I'd have a heifer up there, and I do have a couple of heifers that haven't calved yet, but they are a ways off from calving. So I'm not going to put them in the corral and just feed them and just keep them there. I'll just keep them out on the pasture, and I look at them daily, and I see if they start to develop a bag, then they're going to start getting closer, and then it's time to bring them in. And heifers they're funny. When you said earlier that they kind of have these calves when the calf wants to and they decide to, and that's so true. You know, I can look at a cow and say, she's coming along, you know, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple days, and be fairly close about it, or maybe later today. With a heifer, you can look at them and you go, okay, boy, she's getting close. And 10 days later, she's still hanging onto that calf. Or you look at her and go, oh yeah, she's a ways off. The next thing you know, you walk out and there she's got her calf.
Yeah.
So you got to keep a close eye on them.
Yeah. We really appreciate you taking the camera out in the middle of the night with you. This particular night wasn't so cold, but I'm sure you've seen some nights where instead of 34 above, it was 34 below.
Well, those are brutal. Those scare you because you don't know if you can. You just hope that they don't calve because you don't know if you can get out there in time enough to save them. And being out there full time is impractical, but you get out there as often as you can. You may step it up every hour, just come in, take a nap, get up and go back out. And if you see something close, then you just stay with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And add a little wind to all of that. And it's really dicey.
Yeah. And that's really why we tend to calve later. We start, usually that first week or second week in March. A lot of people calve in January, February, but they're also the ones that are breeding these heifers, replacement heifers, a year later, or almost a year and a half later, so that they're a little bit more mature. They're starting early. Some of them are registered animals, so they want size to them, and there's a risk to that. January and February are cold months, so you can lose calves, and you can wish that you were calving later. So we tend to calve later, partly because of that, and partly because there's no sense in having a cow trying to maintain a calf and standing there eating hay. We'd like them to be out there on grass.
Yeah, for sure. So, Brandon, on your Facebook page, I noticed that Ears had a calf this year.
She did.
I was hopeful that one time you would do a segment on Ears and tell her story.
Oh, we can do that. Yeah, we can certainly make that happen. She's an interesting critter. She seems to be everybody's favorite.
Oh, yeah, she's delightful. In fact, I need to tell people that at one point I took some clients to Brandon's ranch to do a little bit of cattle work with these gals. And Brandon, of course, was a stinker about the whole thing. He sent one of our gals out to find a cow that with a number in her ear that didn't exist. Now, I'll have to admit, this gal was a little mouthy about the whole deal. I mean, she was pushy.
She had it coming. She had it coming, and everybody had a wonderful time. I mean, he really taught us a lot, and really everybody enjoyed that just immensely. When you try to sort cattle on a horse, you have to read both your horse and the cow. And so the first thing Brandon had us do was get in there on our feet to learn to read cattle and to try to move them just with us. And that's where we all encountered Ears and all fell in love with her. She's just a delightful cow. Yeah, she's pretty nice. She's almost a pest where she won't move like she's supposed to because she should have a little bit more respect for personal space. But your personal space is her personal space. She is right in your hip pocket.
Yeah, delightful. So thank you, Brandon, very much. And I also want to tell people that Brandon is running to become the Justice of the Peace. It's a county position, is it not, Brandon?
Yeah, it's a county jurisdiction. Every county in the state, has at least one. On some counties, based on population, have maybe a couple of justices of the peace. Uh-huh. And it's an elected position. It's basically your county judge. And one of those positions that is comes up every 4 years. I've been thinking about it for a number of years now, and finally the time is the time. So I'm
I'd like
doing
to have a
things.
conversation with you about it. I know our viewers would love to know what went into your decision making and what you hope to achieve by
Sure.
occupying that position.
Oh, absolutely. Be happy to talk about it. That'll be kind of fun, a little something different.
Yeah. So let's do that.
Yeah, these are positions that are pretty low key. And my I remember a quick story that I'll have to write down so that we can remember to talk about it next time or when we do this, because an experience my dad had as a young fella with the Justice of the Peace here locally. So
yeah, I mean, they're a really integral part of the county functioning.
they are. I mean, it is every branch of government has to be fulfilled, even in your county. You've got all of your officials, and it's a judicial branch of government. You got an executive branch, and to a point, you don't really have the executive branch that's there at the county level. That's more at the state level because it is state laws. Your county commissioners are basically your policymakers for your county, but there's not a lot there except that your two towns that are in the county here is Rygate and a little town just east of us, Lavina, and they do have city ordinances. And so you are a judge. You are the city judge also for those two jurisdictions as well. So it's just those working branches of government at the lowest local level.
Yeah. And it's really important that people step up to do these positions because they can have a big impact on a person's life.
Very much. Yeah, it's not, there's jokes made about, the justice, the peace, the old hee-haw series, right. You remember? And it's not to be really given much or little credence, because you can still take someone's property. You can take their liberty, their freedom, and that's nothing to trifle with.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a judge has an opportunity to either correct a person's path or to send them on the worst path.
That's right. And there are some judges that I know that were pretty strict with some people because they thought it was the right thing to do. And ultimately, later on, those folks have come back to them and thanked them because it was the catalyst that set them on a better road. Yeah.
Well, we of course wish you luck and think that there's probably nobody better in your county than you.
Thank you.
I'd like to learn more about it for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about it one of these days. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. All right. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for your visit, and thank you for bringing us along on your midnight duties.
Oh, you bet. You guys got to be up and doing this with me. That's what would make it really fun. But I don't think I'm going to get a lot of takers if we do that.
Oh, no, I don't. We're not broadcasting live at 2 a.m.
No, there's no way. No way. Bye, everybody. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Thanks
then.
a lot, Brandon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.